So let's look a little bit at what we do when our watercolor pans are starting to get empty. You can see in my messy box of watercolors here, my watercolor pans, that my ultramarine blue is starting to get a little bit empty. By the way, here I have a refill that is also ultramarine because I love ultramarine, and it's the one I use the most from all different kinds of watercolor projects and color mixing. So today I just wanted to show you how I go about filling up my watercolor pans with refill color, we could say, from a watercolor tube. So of course you can just go and buy new pans. Of course you can do that, and that's very convenient, but it's up to 5 times as expensive as buying a tube of paint, and then you simply go and refill your pans. That's what I do. When I buy a new color that I don't really know, I tend to buy a pan, because then I can try it out, and that's just convenient, and I don't have a tube lying around with paint I don't use. But with all the colors I use over and over again, I refill them with paint from tubes. So let's get to the nitty-gritty. I'll just show you. I do have a lot of watercolor tubes. I'll just slide them in here from the right. Here is my watercolor tubes, tons of them. And now that we are at it, that also reveals that I do use a lot of different brands. As long as it's artist quality, in general, I'm happy. So the one I'm going to fill with the ultramarine blue tray or pan with is from the brand Old Holland, but that's pretty arbitrary. I also love the brand My Mary. The artist quality is called My Mary Blue. I have a lot of colors from Schminke. They are Horadam artist quality watercolor. And I have a lot of Daniel Smith tubes as well, just to touch on that. I have a lot of different brands. I always go for artist quality, and then I'm happy. So let's look a little bit at filling the pan. So just bear in mind that I'm not recommending any special brand here. I recommend using artist quality watercolor, and if you buy in tubes like this and refill your pans, well, it's 5 times as cheap as buying new pans. So that's very budget friendly once you have them. And of course, if you use a relatively what can we say, reasonable number of different colors. I tend to use the same 12 to 20 colors over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, so it's very, very easy, but I know it can be nice to see how it's done. So I take off the lid, of course, and you can also see this one is quite empty soon. Well, when I'm saying 5 times, I think that's an understatement. I have a fresh tube of the ultramarine blue as well. You can see already now that just by the tiny amount of paint left here, I could fill this pan at least 3 times. So here's my full tube of the same ultramarine blue. And it's of course more expensive than a pan, but not that much anyways. I think there must be for at least 7 times for a filler in this one. So it's very, very clever to do. So it's super easy. Let's just see if I can hold it so you can see. You can see it's pretty empty here. And I simply just fill. One thing is, this one is not so bad at it, but sometimes that's very important. Sometimes when you open a tube Actually, some of the binder has separated from the paint, from the pigment, and out comes some clear binder. There's a little bit of it here, but not much. But what you can do is there's a little bit of it here. You can take a piece of kitchen towel or whatever and just gently squeeze out and see if any clear binder is coming out. I'll just feel the pan in a moment. I'll just show you. It's just pick a different color so you can see. Let's see. Let's try this one. For example, that's a gold from Schminke. Let's see if there is any excess binder in that one. I suspect there is. Just see here. Yeah, clear binder floating out. And it's been separating from the pigment, and that's that's a little bit of a showstopper. So, but you can see here, after I kind of pour it out, then out comes the nice and well saturated paint. So that's a good thing to do first, so you don't get all that binder in your pan. That's very annoying. So that's one thing you should make sure to do first. This one is good to go. This one is good to go. So let's go. So I just gently squeeze in some pigment. You can see it's coming out here. It's a little bit dark here. Just squeeze, and then with something, it could be a knife or any little tool that's handy. Usually I use my spatula here, and then I press down and kind of squeeze it into the corners. Make sure that the corners are filled. That can be nice. And in general, just like make a nice finish on top of it. There's still room for some more, so I'll squeeze in some more. That's more than enough. And then that's kind of it. And then doing the same, and just gently make sure that it sits there nicely. Now that I have two different pans here, I have one that's good to go. So I'll just leave it in here. But you could also, of course, take the spare one if you have a system of two. I only have that with the ultramarine. You can take them out and you can put them inside like a cupboard or something and just leave them to dry there. They do need, of course, to dry, so you need to be prepared. There will be some time for it, some drying time. So you want it to not, have too much dust settling on it. So if I feel directly in my watercolor set, what I do is just simply make sure it's covered. Could be something like this. I just make sure that dust cannot settle on it, especially for the first like 24 hours or so, because after that it will be touch dry, and that's fine. But you should know that it can take several weeks for a pan to dry fully. That's normal. I hear some kind of mention that and what's wrong with their, what they've done and so on. Nothing is wrong. It does take some time for it to dry to the bottom. Try and imagine it's full of water in the paint, and it dries on the surface first, and then all those water molecules in the paint, they have to find their way out to the surface and get out of the paint. So this one is not even fully dry, but it's dry enough. But it's still a little bit wobbly. It's been drying for a long time. So, but that's just how it is, and that's perfectly normal. Just so you know, and it does take some time for it to settle. And most of the pans you see here, they have been refilled with tube paint from all those watercolor tubes. That's so nice. Yes, so that was kind of it, and I hope this could give you a little bit of inspiration for filling your own tubes. It's very, oh sorry, not tubes, your own pans. It's a very, very good tip for how to afford using quality paint to actually refill your pans yourself. So, happy painting. My name is Ida Andersen Lang, and I wish you great creative joy, and let's get creative this week. Bye bye.